Sorry about that. When I got the remote control for these things, I forgot how to use one of them anyway because I didn't have the numbers on here that I needed to stabilize the lights. I'm going to do this the hard way. If I can get this thing to work right, that is. Everything's so jumbled up on here. Be warned when you have a lot of cords to deal with. You got a lot of stabilizations to do. Ow, good lord. Okay, hold on. We're going to stabilize. Okay, how we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Yes, I guess 20 settings on this damn thing. All right. So let's just. Okay, we'll deal with the red for right now. So everything's red or green or blue. Okay, blue it is. Okay, something easier to deal with. Right now it's 5:54 p.m. It's the 13th of December 2023 of the year. We're coming up on the end of it, aren't we? And media pundits are still having a field day over things. Despite the fact we're dealing with, I'll get into it. Hunter Biden's situation still haven't made a decision about him just yet, but I'm still waiting for that. If they are going to be, if they're going to be putting this poor kid through the, or man through his situation, the president is going to be going through an impeachment inquiry. They want everything and anything so they can impeach the guy. They want to impeach him. The Republican, there's no longer Republicans, they're Trumplicans. This was 100% Trumplicans when they made the vote today. Everybody of the Republican Party wanted to vote to hold a conference. They say to the president, "We're getting ready before the public votes you out. But before we do that, we need to get the evidence necessary. So we're going to put this inquiry over here." And it was just basically lunacy. Absolute lunacy on this one. Even the President Biden's pissed about it. Oh, he's pissed. Witch hunt, worse than that. Republican Party, well, I have to call it the Trumplican Party, doesn't have the evidence necessary. They find little pieces here to think, but it's not conclusive. And they complained that the January 6th Commission allowed other things that the Republicans couldn't do. The problem is they also kept that the January 6th Commission was open and honest about it. They're trying to be anyway. They had presented all their evidence in a series of sessions where the public was watching. In fact, it's still out there on YouTube. But all the evidence and all the videos are out there for people to look and watch. There was you had Republican and Democrats working with each other on it. Bipartisan, they called it. It wasn't a witch hunt. But they were saying what happened on January 6th. And concerning about Donald Trump, they also had evidence they kept bringing up. What was going on with him? And witnesses and witness testimonies and brought in witnesses. And everything was open. They made statements on these things. They wanted to keep it out in the open. The Trumplicans wanted to keep it shut. Get their sound bites. Get them put on Fox News. And on the other schmucks out there on the social media. So yeah, crazy. I didn't see the town hall that they had sanctimonious on regarding CNN. I didn't want to throw up. I was watching some other non-necessary, unimportant things like movies and other television shows I was getting myself into. But here's the thing concerning about what I was trying to get myself into, though. Besides the stuff happening on news, and they're still talking about it. I mean, Hamas wars, the Hamas versus Israel war. It's more horrendous. Netanyahu's getting his ass kicked, and rightfully so. He doesn't want to give us his power. He doesn't want to give up anything. He's in the middle of a annihilation of Hamas in the form of wiping out the Palestinians in the Gaza, apparently. Zelensky from Ukraine tried to get help from the Congress. The Trumplicans said Democrats couldn't do shit. But even the Senate Democrats were having issues. But the Trumplicans in the House of Representatives are going. So he's wondering what the hell's going on with America and its Congress. So is everybody else, for that matter. Does that grab you? You want to see how America sometimes is acting more like the Roman Empire? Try this one. Occasions happen where I'm comparing the United States to the Roman Empire. And even the Pope is noticing this. We've got conservative Catholics and Christian conservatives going against the papacy. There's one guy who's just basically telling the Holy Father to which he's getting himself royally defrocked, I think it is. Won't be recognized. We have a fight between the U.S. clergy versus the papacy. We're saying to His Eminence, I'm a Methodist. I have respect for the papacy to a point, but I don't do that to the Pope. I don't care who's in there or not. I just don't. 1 second. Well, let's move a little away from the religious aspect back to the politics. SCOTUS just put a pause. Well, actually, the judge who is still working on the federal case against old Gasbag himself has put a pause on the damn thing until they hear from SCOTUS. The special prosecutor had sent a request to have this Donald Trump's immunity, if he actually had the so-called immunity, be squashed. And until they hear from SCOTUS, the court case has been put on pause by the judge. We'll see what happens on that one. I was scrolling through some of that stuff happening. I'd like to turn it over to science if I can. What's the longest? What's the longest living spacecraft, regardless manned or unmanned, have been out in space for the longest time than anything else we know of? We haven't heard from the Pioneer 1 and 2. They're already gone. They're out there beyond the heliosphere of the solar system, the sun's influence, radiation, where also the Oort cloud is also. The Oort cloud being those multiple either planetary or smaller than that objects that float around the sun. So we got this huge orbit of masses out there. And the other thing that we have is four pieces of space hardware hurling into space. We hadn't heard anything from Pioneer 1 and 2 in ages, but we are keeping track of Voyager 1 and 2. Having software glitches left and right, aging equipment, they're exposed to deep space, and they're not supposed to. They're supposed to just, this should have been dead about 5 or 6 years right after they gone out. I mean, after they did their surveys and stuff. But no, we had made arrangements to put on these devices we sent out. The Pioneer series, we had plaques. On Voyager series, we have discs with instructions, hopefully, to tell the aliens to build this record player so they can play back the sounds and they would see images all digitally recorded into the devices anyway. Using 1970s and early 80 technology, we actually had it. 47 years. 47 years. I'm 58 or 57. Yeah, 57, I think. A couple of more years, and I'll be turning 60. So it's about 57. So about 10 years old when they launched the Voyagers. They didn't think the ships, the satellites we had would last this long. A lot of scientists that built these things to last, but only to a point. With a lot of conservation, a lot of maneuvering, we had made these ships ambassadors to the stars. And the last voice out there of a civilization. We had hoped maybe if they had encountered if we have it. Try that again. I'm just trying to get my mouth working on this damn thing. If we actually had people or beings intercepting the ships, found out how they worked, and learned about us, we would hope to tell them that during the time when they were sent out, that hopefully, that would be the last gasp of a civilization that was tearing itself apart, literally, one way or another. It amazes me that we actually can make something that lasts that long, and yet we're still trying to. A 30-year-old space station is still trying to keep it together. International Space Station. Or is it about 20 years? We didn't exactly expect it to live long enough, but we also didn't expect to lose out on a space shuttle program either. So now we've got private ships to deliver cargo and personnel. Hopefully, with private companies working with the NASA, we are having a spaceship to go back to the moon to see if they can get a bit of a base started over there. May not be record breaking, but at least we get it over there anyway just to see what happens. So I'd like to see that happen. I'd want to see that happen. Yeah. Kind of, I don't know. It got to me to a point where I'm in my math class talking about space. I wanted to tell them about the things that made me realize math is important in our lives. And when I get educated about how I was using algebra just to figure things out in my head, I'm like, huh? But I did. You know, still have to make it math. I still have to make it work. Space has always been an interest of mine. Always meteor showers coming up, and I've seen a few of them in my lifetime. I'm like, okay, they're pieces of rock flying through the atmosphere, heat up enough, and they go poof. If it's large enough, where they don't go poof, then it becomes a thud, and that's what I usually pay attention to. Any larger than just a small thud is something of a concern. Near Earth asteroids, large chunks coming towards the Earth, moving on their own orbits, but unfortunately getting intersected with Earth. Every so often, our planet goes through uh, comet tails. We get the meteors, we get the streaks in the sky, and we get to see it on a yearly basis. The scientists keep projecting where the locations are, and if they're still more and more scattered where Earth goes through it, we may have a longer or shorter period of seeing these meteors and meteorites. Well, they call them meteorites when they start scraping through the sky and it start hitting us. Meteors would just be little rocks flying around space, assisted by gravity, and just keep floating around. The space hazards. I wouldn't be surprised if the satellites that we have out there, the Pioneers and Voyagers, are getting battered and beaten to the point where even software glitches can't fix them. And that the fuel's being used up and they're gone. JPL in Pasadena, California is going to have to shut it down to where they're going to have to focus on other satellites we still have working, including any rovers that are still active on Mars. There are programs for that one. But the Voyager has been the longest one we've had so far. Pioneer, they already gave up a long time ago, but Voyager, once we're still getting signals from 2 and 1, the public is like, what do you mean we got things out there? Yeah, we do. Some people are trying to say, well, there's been gravity assists. Well, yeah, there had been gravity assists, but they also have their own small nuclear power. The problem is, it only lasts for so long. And chemical rockets to make course corrections if necessary. If necessary. But for the meanwhile, it's still out there. What's the holdup in Voyager 1 right now is the data it's obtaining from its own internal mechanisms, its own checks and balances, and how it's operating, and that's on a cycle of some sort. Either by the fault of the spacecraft because it's getting pelted by things out there, by radiations, who knows, or software glitch, and they're still working on it. Eventually, they're going to have to give up on the damn thing and just let it go. I mean, if they still get sporadic data, they're still excited about it. They're still working through sheets and binders full of material programming that the ship had been fed into just to make sure that they're doing things right. Our technology has caught up so much right now that we have stronger transmitters, we have faster, better computers, and yet the computer they have right there is dealing with like a Texas Instrument old calculator compared to compared to the smartphone technology. So that's people can talk about the politics, and I like to listen to the politics at this point over here. But when I saw that story about the Voyager, and then I saw the story about the papacy going under, then I wanted to talk about that one as well. So, I suppose I'm going to be doing that for the next vid.